All right. Well, we got a big topic coming up. Not more important than all the ones that we talked about, but a different one that we talked about recently, very recently, within the last 2 weeks. Um, it's microdosing.
Yes.
More specifically, we were talking about mushrooms or psilocybin.
Yeah.
In this case, what's microdosing?
It's a practice of like taking a very small amount of a substance for a certain period of time to have the benefit of what the substance is doing. Yeah, basically that's it, but without having the macro effects. Take psilocybin example. If you macro dose on mushroom, you're probably gonna see some like brighter colors or maybe like some movement and shapes, and like you're gonna have like very different perception of life. If you microdose on mushroom, you won't have this. Basically, it would be like taking a sip of beer one morning out of two. You won't be drunk, but you would have like some molecules of alcohol in your blood. I don't know, a bit like the movie. I don't know how is it called in English. In French, it's drunk. It's like the guys who drink alcohol like regularly, just a small amount, to live in this happy mood always, and it turns not that good in the end. But yeah, taking a small amount of something.
Here I have it defined, at least this is what research online says, about 5 to 10% of the full dosage of psilocybin.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. At least what I found is it works within, it's a pretty quick acting, substance. I think it's like 30 minutes, right? That's what I've read about, 30 minutes, and it goes 2 to 3 hours as a half-life, and then it stays in your bloodstream for some time. Why did you start taking it?
Why did I start? Big question once again, but that's a topic I talked about a lot with Luca, one of my best friends, and he has done it several times before, and his best friend too. So we were talking about it, and he's also in the same like mood of questioning life and like, okay, how am I gonna go through life? What's the best way for me like to deal with my relationship, with my job, and so he's like very curious and like, this kind of little scientist of your life, like try things to see what's working or not. And so he told me about this, and I think him talking to me about this, I was like, damn, me too. I wanna see. I wanna try it. I wanna take notes. I wanna check how it works. Also, if you do it properly, that you respect also some kind of rules. During the period you're microdosing, you're not gonna drink or smoke or whatever. So this is also like kind of a free, like a little gift for your body to be like, okay, I'm gonna leaving you like super like clean and soft for a month, 2 months, and you just have this like psilocybin microdose. So there's like a whole like experience that made me like super curious and like, okay, I want to do it and I want to see what's going on.
What would you say to people who are like very doubtful, very skeptical towards any kind of drugs? For example, I'm not doubtful or skeptical, but I've never done any, so I'm very like, okay, is it something I want to get into? I mean, it also has normally a lot of prejudice for some people, like, okay, drugs are this and they have a certain usage or purpose. And microdosing seems like a lighter kind of influence, but it's also like, it's like a gray line, it's not like, okay, you're not doing, hardcore drugs or any of the other more hardcore psychedelic stuff, like whatever, heroin, all those things, right? What would you, if somebody approached you and were like, well, I don't feel so comfortable, or I'm not too into that, what would you say to that? Do you have anything? I'm not saying be pro or against, or I'm pro or against, just like what would your response or way of addressing it be?
That's not for everyone. Like obviously you've got like medical condition that's probably your doctor will tell you like, no, don't go through it and like stay away. In this particular case, like just don't go and go away. Like, I mean, that's not the good point. And it's not being for or against. I mean, it's trying to understand what could be the impact on yourself, and like, do you want to go through it or not? There is no obligation, and like, this is not the only way to go through like a specific period of time where you try to focus on yourself and see what's going on in your brain. That's one experience you can do. It happened that it works with like psilocybin or LSD that are like substances that have been considered like drugs and dangerous and like evil for years.
Yeah.
And now we realize they may not be that evil if you learn how to use them and that you are someone who can benefit from their use. And I mean, that was also something that made me curious, like, okay, this evil stuff, I mean, it's not that evil if you look at like the studies and you realize there are like some probably super nice impact of it. And like, I don't know, I've not been like always fully committed to respect the rule. So probably it also played the role like, okay, I'm going to do this thing that is a bit like outlaw. And I was like, I don't care.
Yeah. I guess the interesting point would be, people would be asking, well, why should I try it? Like, if it's semi-considered evil, okay, besides the fact that I want to break the rules, why should I try it?
I mean, you should try if you're curious about it and you're not afraid of. Like, if you're like, it doesn't interest me or I'm afraid of this, I mean, don't go for it. There's no point. This is not a roller coaster and then you'll be happy. No, it's like way more. It is still a commitment, and you still like digesting some drug, something that has an effect on your brain, even on small dosage. So don't go if you
we
like
talked
not sure,
about
don't
it
go.
and we got into the point that you said like it piqued your creativity. You said before like it kind of gave you like a different awareness. I was talking with Teresa yesterday.
Yeah.
I told her that one of our topics on today's podcast would be microdosing, and she's like, "Oh, so you do microdosing?" And I was like, "No, I don't." And she's like, "Oh, very interesting. Okay." And she's like, "Why not?" I was like, "Oh, I just like never done drugs, and I'm not really interested in it, at least for the time being." But me and Hugo were talking about it, and even Finn was saying, "Okay, well, it brings out your creativity, neuroplasticity, like these key words, which are very tempting for people to get into, right?" And so I looked into it. I was like, "Okay, is this really true?" And even Teresa said, like, "Oh, when I took it, it seemed like I matured a lot. I became aware of a lot of things." So it feels like, I don't know if a hack is the right word.
Actually, I started my newsletter when I was on microdosing. Like, that's the moment, at least not the moment that I sent it, but the moment that I wrote probably the first 3 episodes. And then I was like, yeah, I need to do a newsletter and I will share it with people and it's going to be amazing. This happened during this time. Okay, what's the part of the mushroom? What's the part of just being in the mindset of creating something and do things differently? And what's the part of not drinking and not smoking? Obviously, it's tough to say what is due to exactly the psilocybin or not, but it happened during this time. And I had like only one big project like this in my life. It happened at this time. So maybe it played a role at some point.
Well, it helps with fear reduction, right? Which is what you're talking about, the reduction of fear. So I did a bunch of research because I was like, I want to see whether this really makes sense. I mean, for myself. And there's another topic related to this, which is supplement taking, like all those minerals, vitamins, but then also like ashwagandha and things like that. That might be for another episode or my episode with Finn. But at least what I found here.
He knows better than me about this.
Finn's very into the supplements. I will discuss with him about that. But here, at least it said, there were 2 types of studies done. There's not a lot of articles, but there's some, at least that have specific results. And they had 2 types of studies. One was self-reported studies. Well, both were self-reported studies, but one was not lab, or it was an open study, so both the participants and the researchers knew what the results were supposed to be. So, okay, we're testing the effects of microdosing on creativity, let's say. In those, they found that people, they reported a couple things. One was improved mental health. We'll get into that in a little bit. You talked about it. It's reduced substance use. So like, for example, no alcohol, no other kind of drugs.
If you do it well, probably some people are doing in a very like wild ways and keep doing whatever they do next to it.
Maybe.
But probably you lose all the effects.
Here it said at least they reduced substance use. Reduced mind wandering. So maybe like more focus, like people, because normal people will get distracted and that kind of like takes them out of their mind a little bit. But I'll get into that and why that happens in a bit. And then more nature related, like more interested in nature and environment and things like that, well-being, mentally and physically. and improved creativity. Mind you that this is like an open study. So like I said, where the participants knew what they were being tested for. So the placebo effect is much bigger, which is if you gave them a placebo, they would still register the fact that they supposedly improved creativity. Or even if they didn't improve creativity and they didn't take a placebo effect, they would think that they improved creativity. So they did the same study, different people, but it was closed, so the participants didn't know the results. And some things stayed the same, for example, improved mental health, mental mood, things like that, better social connection, enhanced emotional, some of those things were same, but they didn't register improved creativity, which was one of our main topics.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any comments on that.
No, I mean, it's not surprised that there are like few differences between both of them, but I guess that's maybe, if funny that is like mainly creativity that's changed, because this is something that's also a lot in your mindset. Like, do you believe you can create something? Do you allow you sometimes to create, or do you avoid it? Like, and probably the mindset also plays a huge role in this. So obviously, better, like, I don't know if it's better results in the open study, but result higher, and makes sense, because when you know what's supposed to come, you're also way more committed to go this way. So like probably you go higher if you like go for it. And once again, I guess creativity is like probably way more, I don't know, that's something you decide and you allow yourself to be or not, more than focus or whatever. That is maybe a bit more instinctive.
I kind of subscribe to the idea that creativity is natural for everyone, unless you have like a mental problem. And so my opinion, and then I'll go into a little bit of the scientific reasons why, but I think my opinion is, like I said, I feel like it's a hack, maybe very useful in today's world where we grow up so addicted to like social media, and we kind of lose the creativity through the education system, through just the way we grow up. We get older, we stop being so childish, and being childish is, it's related to creativity, being, trying different things, being curious about different things, having crazy ideas, or what people would classify as crazy. And then you grow up and people are like, oh, that's dumb, or that's silly, or that's unrealistic. And your creativity gets dimmed down by what society says. And for that reason, I think I'm quite interested in like the effects of microdosing. I think it's like a shortcut to building self-awareness and awakening a different side of you. I didn't particularly need that, even though I could have, and I'm sure for certain people maybe that helps make that transition faster, getting out of this modern world and social media and everything that boggles our mind. I think you could just go into nature, or I quite am into the idea of just like letting your mind be bored, and then your mind starts being more creative, finding itself, asking itself questions. So that's quite interesting. There's very chemical like explanations for this. We also mentioned the word neuroplasticity in our conversation with Finn, and how it helps your mind be more adaptable. That's even less proven than creativity. There's only like one study I found online that was like, okay, because of certain receptors in our mind, it allows us to activate and like adapt our prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think like related to that, we talked about it before, like the reduction of anxiety. We didn't really say anxiety, but the improvement of our mental health, because it reduces anxiety, our mental depression, like symptoms. It's quite proven, and studies are shown that it's related to like serotonin receptors, and so a lot of the things, and a little bit also dopamine receptors, and so it makes us feel good about ourselves. And for that reason, I think people feel like they're happier, they feel like they're more creative, because I think they've gone more back to a natural way of being with their body and receptors. And one thing specifically that interested me here was the fact that we have something called the default mode network in our mind. Do you know of it?
No.
Yeah?
Yeah, basically the thing you do without questioning, you just like go for it. That's your number one answer that you've registered for the past years. decades, whatever. And so you go toward this move because that's the move you do.
Yeah, sort of, but it's
Is
like
it?
when our mind is free, like, and it's just resting, it normally goes to other thoughts. Like before when we were in our intermission, like my mind, just kind of wandered.
Okay.
And it limits your brain's like wandering, so you don't go sad, you don't get anxious, you lose kind of like your stressful symptoms, and then that's why you feel better about yourself and you feel more positive, and I think that's why a lot of people do it. But yeah, is there anything more you'd like to share on the topic?
But microdosing, I mean, as you said, like that's one path, that's one way of like going through a specific kind of like mood and questioning that is a bit different than before. That's one of them. Like it's going to be the good one for certain, it's going to be like the worst one for others. Definitely, that was a good experience for me. That's something I plan to do again. I guess that's a nice moment to give myself some space, to cut also like from like every other thing, like alcohol, smoking, whatever, like cut off from it, so make me feel good, obviously.
Yeah.
And it works well, so I was like, okay, maybe I should do it from time to time, in order to like keep being in movement and not just stick to what I do since 3 years and be like, okay, maybe there are other things, maybe I need like to push myself a bit more, like try to see things a bit differently or whatever. Like there are many reasons for me to be like, that's something I want to do again. I wrote a full text about it, like explaining what happened, etc. But yeah, that's definitely something that I would like recommend to everyone, like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. That was very interesting experience for me. I love to talk about it and like answer questions when people are curious about it, but that's not something I would say like you should do this. I would say this about taking breaks. I would say like take breaks, like take time off, know that everyone needs it. Microdosing, I would not be that sure that it's good for everyone.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of negative effects. I didn't really think they were like important for today, so I didn't really like research all of them. But yeah, there's the normal negative effects of psychedelic drugs on people, right? Some people lose control.
Microdosing, you're very far away from losing control or whatever. Like it's like literally one sip of beer. You won't get drunk even if you're 2 years old and like, to have this one sip. Yeah. But yeah, like I know I have a colleague who tried to do it, and like because it is mushroom, it goes right into like, your belly. That's where it happened, and it gave him like stomach pain. So he stopped the microdosing because it wasn't good for him. Like nothing mentally that wasn't fitting well with the mushroom, but it was the stomach. It was like, bro, what are you doing? I don't want to do this. And so for him it didn't work. So yeah, everyone gonna have his own like relation or not with microdosing.
Yeah, some people might not also feel the effects because it's not sub-perceptual, but it's sub-psychedelic, I think. So it's like a small effect, and some people might just be like, well, that didn't do anything on me, and some people might really feel the symptoms and gain some advantage from it. So yeah.